Sunday morning, beautiful full moon, beautiful full moon, but we cannot see. There's a seagull, barely can see the seagull. And over there, there's two frigates, one and two, right there. Something, no, like it's hard to watch them, but I'm doing this show just because of peace purposes, you know. But definitely, I was saying yesterday, I realized this is a remarkable chance to do the greater communist revolution. So in my opinion, Lenin, Trotsky, they are more alive than ever because of capitalism, decadence. This is an end game for capitalism, in my opinion, because China right now, just 1 second, Tommy. Because China will have to strive. China will have to do China will have to do something, you know. But you know, nah, this is just a thought I had. The reality is, Donald Trump, look, I'm going to read some news now, but what I know by YouTube videos, my colleagues, I will say, there's a lot of Spanish videos, Portuguese videos, all around videos saying that Trump is breaking the US. That's the whole truth. That Trump is, I don't know. The Trump is making a lot of mistakes, and what led us to why people choose Trump, why Americans elected Trump, because of capitalism crisis, because of capitalism decadence. So, will China create a multipolar world or multinodal world? Will China be the center of capitalism? I don't think so. Or, well, definitely that's a possibility. China will be the great superpower in the whole world, just like 3 centuries ago. That sounds great. I'm being ironic, of course. That sounds like anything, you know? Sounds like always. Sounds like forever exploitation capitalism. The question is, this is the opportunity to make to further communism inside China too, you know? Communism everywhere, real communism. Who knows? I'm going to read some news now. Let's read Pepe Escobar Telegram. What I posted what I myself posted. I am the responsible for this channel. Yeah, you know, these frigates, these American frigates, they will catch me, and I will spend the rest of my life in prison, I guess, or they're going to kill me because I'm communist. Yeah. So I posted this. The tariffs war is a remarkable opportunity for people to develop the productive capabilities around the world, around the global south. China should not focus on keep making good businesses at the retail level, but take the communist revolution even further abroad in Africa, South America, West Asia, etc. So that's my post. You can see it there. Nobody, nobody yes door. I'm going to read some Pepe Escobar Telegram. Pepe Escobar Telegram. Nah. Yeah, there is an interesting graphic, just like I was saying. This is a coincidence. Despite Pepe Escobar is cancer just like me, and Rui Costa Pimenta, we are cancer. We should be the only governors from the world, you know, because we are the best. Cancer. Pepe Escobar, strategicculture.su news. Why China won't call tariff wielding barbarian. And that's it. Strategic Culture Foundation. Three wise monkeys are perfectly aware of what a pigeon posing as eagle is really up to. What? I'm going to show you the graphic, this chart. There's a cartoon. I guess you say illustration. That one, look. The US and China, they are fighting. They are fighting for money, you know, for little cents. They are making all this war. They are making all this. Oh. Just because of little coins, I guess. Why China won't call a quote-unquote tariff wielding barbarian. April 12, 2025. Pepe Escobar wrote, the three wise monkeys are perfectly aware of what a pigeon posing as eagle is really up to. Yeah, they are talking about China, I guess. Pepe is talking about saying it's not an eagle, it's a pigeon. Yeah. Not an eagle. The US is not an eagle, folks. It's a pigeon. The toddler temper tantrum style. The toddler temper tantrum style Trump tariffs teasy TTT. Toddler temper tantrum. I'm not so advanced in English. I don't know where's toddler temper. Three of them. Thanks, Pepe. I will and teasy Trump tariff teasy. Now accelerated to 145% and counting. Is yet another thunderous trademark. Pigeon matching the chessboard gambit. It won't work. Trump claimed that China will call him to quote-unquote make a deal. That's reality. That's reality show territory. Reality is more like the statement by the Customs Tariff Commission of the State Council. Quote, given that U.S. exports to China already have no market acceptability under the current tariff rates, if the U.S. further imposes additional tariffs on Chinese goods, China will simply ignore them. End quote. Translation. Keep vociferating, tariffing, not tarifying, vociferating, tariffing, we don't care, and we will stop buying from you anything. The Chinese Foreign Ministry, quote, tariff yielding barbarian can never expect a call from China. Basic numbers. China's GDP for 2025 is projected at 5%. US imports account for at best 4% of Chinese GDP. China's share of total exports to the US dropped to China's share of total exports to the US dropped to 13.4% in 2024. Goldman Sachs, not exactly a CPP quote-unquote mouthpiece, has just projected that TTT will cost China only 0.5% of GDP in 2025, while costing no less than 2% of US GDP. Talk about blowback. Still, from now on, what matters most for Beijing is to keep diversifying the supply chain. Asia-wise, the extra wheels are in motion. President Xi Jinping will soon start an ASEAN mini tour. Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia. I'm so jealous. No, I'm not jealous. Yeah, I have envy. I'm envy Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, increasingly focused on geoeconomics, is about to meet. The EU, for all the mendacity of its elites, is absolutely itching to strike trade deals with China. Xiao Minggao, Deputy Director at the Center for American Studies at Fudan University in Shanghai, refers to the current incandescence as a, quote, a game of strategic resolve, end quote. Previously, the eminent Wang Heiwei, international relations star professor at Renmin University in Beijing and an expert on the New Silk Roads, noted that the current tariff rate already made China's exports to the US, quote-unquote, almost impossible. This analysis noted how China started to deal with TTT with a, quote, courtesy before force, end quote, approach. Courtesy before force approach. Then turned to, quote, we don't care, while cultivating, quote, the art of timing, quote, in its asymmetric attack on US stocks. A fascinating window on the real wheels of Chinese trade is offered by a timely visit to the vast Weiwu International Trade City, the largest concentration of small traders on the planet. Less than 10% of Weiwu phenomenal amount of business involves the US. Among the 75,000 business operators in Weiwu small commodity city, only a little over 3,000 do business with the US. Quote, two xenophobes meet one mirage. Two xenophobes meet one mirage. The TTT is largely the product of two crude Team Trump arrogant, ignorant xenophobes. Economic advisor Peter Navarro and Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, who know less than zero about all things China. In fact, it was Bessent who, right at the start, gave the game away. Quote, this was driven by the president's strategy. You might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They respond, they have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors, and we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate, end quote. A crude trap with the sole focus on China that had nothing to do with the initial tawdry plotline. Tariffs, mafia style on most of the planet, penguins included. If you don't retaliate, fine. If you do, we hit harder. Of the so-called Miram Mirage, end quote. After Trump's alleged economic brain Stephen Miram, what is actually happening, fast bypassing the stupid notion that tariffs will be paid for by current depreciation elsewhere, is very complicated, you know. Economy. I guess I should go back to Al Jazeera's basic article about basic economy, because what happened? I was watching YouTube, Spanish channel, and so they said that stock markets in the U.S. plunged, and this Paulo Gala, I will say Paulo Gala is a nice economy channel from Brazil. They said that, or maybe I'm not sure if yeah, I guess I'm sure it was here. He said stock market in Tokyo is taking the space of the United States stock market. Understand? So United States stock market is crumbling, and investors are going to Japan. Understand? On the so-called Miran Mirage, after Trump's alleged economic brain Stefan Miran, what is actually happening fast, bypassing the stupid notion that tariffs will be paid for by current depreciation elsewhere. See Miran's white paper here. Is the uncontrolled demolition of the US as a World Trade Center. Asked why he paused the tariffs, Trump answered, quote, I thought people were jumping a bit out of line. They were getting a little bit hype. They were getting afraid. Nonsense. Trump cannot possibly admit on the record that the US oligarchy, Jamie Dimon and company freak out big time, and that plus the debate in the bond market forced him to backtrack. Nobody in neoliberal heaven and nobody in neoliberal heaven and earth can mess with the goddess of the market. As for the long-term strategy of several nations of the global majority caught in TTT's crossfire hurricane, not to mention big players like China and the EU, they will all avidly reduce their dependence on US markets. Yeah, they are going to Japan now. Investment are going to Japan. Once again, the elaborate quote-unquote deal offered by Trump and his illiterate advisors boiled down to a mafioso quote-unquote offer you can refuse. Yeah, offer you can refuse. Definitely blow up or significantly diminish your trade with China, the largest trading partner of nearly all of these nations, and trade with exceptionalistan, plus 10% tariffs. You hell with your economic sovereignty and strategic flexibility. Once again, it's our way or the tariff way. Is our way or the tariff way. But let me tell you, I said that this offer you can refuse, because that was what China did too. You know, China, they offered the world the cheapest labor, the cheaper production prices. So that's nobody can decline this offer. You know, well, cheaper production, cheaper labor. That's capitalism language. Reality instead will dictate that the US will increasingly import Chinese products from third countries, while China will continue to get paid for it. This is interesting. Reality instead will dictate that the US will increasingly import Chinese products from third countries. just like Russia. Just like what happened with the Russian oil. Europe kept burning Russian oil by Turkey. I don't know where. Yeah. I'm not Italian, I'm not Italian. I don't know what the hell I am. I'm Mapuche, I'm Mapuche. I'm Mapuche, Tommy. And Tommy is not a American neither. He's a Argentinian dogo. Argentinian, understand? um, Reality instead will dictate that the US will increasingly import Chinese products from third countries, while China will continue to get paid for it. China will export even more to ASEAN and other global majority actors. Yeah, but what happened to communism? What happened to... Yeah, maybe someday will be communism. I guess there's a great chance to do it faster, to to speed up this process. As it stands, Trump's plan, if there is any, remains to stabilize his allies while concentrating all the firepower on China. In theory, to drive China's complex supply chain to chaos and force companies to move production lines to, for example, Vietnam or India. This is very interesting. And as it stands, Trump's plan, if there is any, remains to stabilize his allies while concentrating all the firepower on China. In theory, to drive China's complex supply chain to chaos and force companies to move production lines to, for example, Vietnam or India. The production lines, yeah. So I will always be astonished or shocked how capitalism is so hard for people, for how capitalism don't do the obvious thing, like they are imposing tariffs on sales. But what happened to production lines? Production lines are in China. So we have the crazy situation that China produces things and then the US will tariff them. Understand? And that will be complicated, absolutely complicated, because Chinese people are producing right now in China, but they cannot buy the things they are producing in China. They are making money nevertheless, so this is just a stage. It's just a stage. China is always producing new things. I mean, they are producing other products similar. And well, in the future, Huawei is overreaching Apple, understand? Chinese smartphones, they are surpassing the American ones. Anyway, there's a subtitle: shakedown leading to breakdown. China containment will be on overdrive. Expect a tsunami of technological restrictions, investment, red lines, and of course, extra sanctions. Xenophobe Besant does not rule out the delisting Chinese stocks from US exchanges. Quote, I think everything's on the table. That will be President Trump's decision. Beijing, for its part, can easily go nuclear, deciding for a sell-off of its U.S. treasuries en masse, with catastrophic cascading consequences. That's another thing, I guess China don't do this because they are too nice. Because China really don't want to destroy all this, but that's a reality. They already have the power to... I will read again. to, I will read from the start. Shakedown leading to breakdown. China containment will be on overdrive. Expect a tsunami of technological restrictions, investment red lines, and of course, extra sanctions. Xenophobe Besant does not rule out delisting Chinese stocks from US exchanges. Quote, I think everything's on the table. That will be President Trump's decision. I don't know who say that. Chinese stocks from US exchanges. And I know that Chinese, they have buy a lot from American, American debt, public debt. So maybe this is the end of America, Beijing, for its part, can easily go nuclear, deciding for a sell-off of its US Treasury en masse, with catastrophic cascading consequences. US Treasury, and I guess I'm not sure if that's the same thing as public debt, but there you have. China owes a lot of public treasury, US Treasury. As of January, Beijing held $760 billion in US debt. Yeah, that's it. 700. Yeah, there's a lot. Beijing held $760 billion in debt. With a delightful diplomatic touch, Yan Pampan and Xu Qiuyan, researchers at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, note that what happens next with US Treasury bonds remains quote-unquote highly uncertain. Bridgewater billionaire investor Ray Dalio, for his part, while incisive, was also heavy on diplomacy. Quote, we are seeing a classic breakdown of the major monetary, political, and geopolitical orders, end quote. There's no more, quote, cooperative world order, end quote, led by the US. In fact, that was anything but cooperative. Dalio at least recognizes the unilateralism manifest in, quote, the US-led trade wars, geopolitical war, technology war, and, in some cases, military wars, end quote. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian de facto synthesized Beijing's position, no more Mr. Nice Guy, which was the default Chinese position until recently. If the US insists on fighting a tariff war and a trade war, China will fight to the end. So, what I think is happening right now is that the US is threatening everybody militarily and with market and military. There are people with the I forgot the logistics. Yeah. So the United States, they have the logistics, but this is changing too. China has a lot of logistics. So in this interim, in this crisis, in this critical moment, the large parts of the world depends on US for the SWIFT system, logistics, and China should cooperate. China should develop the productive forces. I'm talking in Marxist terms, in materialist terms. China should do this to even support communist parties around the world. Why not? To win elections, yeah. Please do that in Chile. We had right here in Chile, this is just an example, a sample of what might happen all over the world. Right here in Chile, we have this Daniel Jadue candidate. He was he was not homeschooling, he was home arrest. it's something like homeschooling. But the question is, this guy, he was interesting before getting in prison. He was in prison something like a year or 6 months or something, and now he is completely stupid because he is arrested. And the terrible part, the most cruel part of all this is that he is an architect. He's a sociologist, architect, urbanist. Understand? Urbanist. He studies cities. He's a city specialist. He was a major of Recoleta in metropolitan region in Santiago, and he cannot go to the street. So this is tragic for him, understand? And for Chile too, because we don't have another name. We don't have another name. Anyway, this is just this terrible country right here. Terrible, weak, absolutely weak country. This is an archipelago. We don't have a country. We have a lot of islands, just islands. I'm here in the Valparaiso Island and never go away. Understand? Because of poverty. Because it's not just me. There's very, very few people traveling around Chile. No way to do it. Anyway, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian de facto synthesized Beijing's position. No more Mr. Nice Guy, which was the default Chinese position until recently. If the US insists on fighting a tariff war and a trade war, China will fight to the end. So I guess what's happening, fortunately, is that China is a responsible nation. They are not going to, maybe that's the plan, maybe that's the plan. US destabilizing the whole world, making China strike a victory over the world, and then the United States will say, oh, Chinese people are promoting the chaos. Such a sad end for the empire, isn't it? Such a sad end. But Chinese are trying to, again, what Chinese people should do, what China government, what the Communist Party of China should do is developing the production capabilities from all over the world, Africa, South America, and so on. Because that's communism. That's communism is industry all around, all over the world. Of course, a country like Chile will never have a fusion reactor, a nuclear fusion reactor, the second sun. We will never have that in Chile. But that's fine, As moon just go away, the moon disappears, and I'm going to, the article is ending here. Let's finish him. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian de facto synthesized Beijing's position. No more Mr. Nice Guy, which was the default Chinese position until recently. Until 2 years ago, maybe. Until 3 years ago, maybe. Absolutely nice and shy. But Chinese people are people too, They are people. They are communists. They are from Mao Zedong era, understand? Things had changed in China. If the US insists on fighting a tariff war and a trade war, China will fight to the end. So here we are, once again, is the empire of chaos against BRICS. The empire of chaos embarks on a hot geoeconomics war against its peer competitor, China, contemplates a hot military war against sovereign Iran, and at the same time tries to appease nuclear hypersonic power Russia into a sort of hazy deal to somewhat freeze the forever war by proxy in Ukraine. Into a sort of hazy deal of somewhat freeze the forever war by proxy in Ukraine. They want to freeze the war. Yeah, but yeah, I guess the United States is losing. It's just losing everywhere. The new Primakov triangle, Russia, India, and China, is perfectly aware of these moves. Putin had metaphorically characterized the Russian position in the US-China trade war when he mentioned that the Chinese have a good proverb. When tigers fight in the valley, the smart monkey sits and watches how it ends. Huh? I didn't got that. When tigers fight in the valley, the smart monkey sits and watches how it ends. I didn't got that. The smart monkey sits and watches how it ends. Yeah, because to learn, I guess. Now is more the case of three wise monkeys perfectly aware of what a pigeon posing as an eagle is really up. It's not a tiger, it's a pigeon. Yeah, I got the message. Strategic Culture Foundation. The views of individual contributors do not necessarily represent those of the Strategic Culture Foundation. Well, that's it, 36 minutes. Well, Pepe Escobar, he was talking about Iran. My opinion, that was not interesting because it was just another... Maybe we can see the frigates now. No. Maybe this is a frigate over there, an American frigate, I guess, over there and over there. Two American frigates. And yeah, I only speak American and American citizen. Oh, I want to go to the global north. But this is far more interesting, all this China conflict, yeah. So yeah, I'm happy now. I'm happy because I guess communism will happen, because if the United States wants to destroy everything, people around the world should industrialize, They will need to industrialize because there will be no more nothing. No more logistics. Africa will have to industrialize. China is building railroads, and that's it.